at all. I can hear you just fine.
Go grab them.
So how's it been? How you doing?
As good as I can be, I guess. I mean, it's pretty crazy what we're going through. So,
Yeah.
I'm also the farm babe on social media. So I do a lot of traveling, I do public speaking, work as an influencer, do a lot of farm tours. I'm always on the ground with all different types of farmers all over the place. So it's a little weird to be in one place, be home for this
Yeah.
long, but it's also kind of a nice break, I guess, just to, like not be on a plane.
Right. Right. I'm gonna try. I'm like a little overexposed here. I'm gonna see if I can fix that by pointing out the window and having the camera adjust. Nope, just goes back to normal. All right. Oh, let's figure it out. Let's go back. Okay, cool. So as you know, I know you spoke with Molly and Emily briefly, but we are looking at the ways that COVID is really shaping and reshaping a lot of our life, and we wanted to speak with you about, the supply chain and what's happening to all of our food, right? What's happening to our farming industry, and so I think the best way for us to really get started is why don't you just introduce yourself, say your name, what you do, and then tell us a little bit about your history in the farming industry.
Sure. So my name is Michelle. I'm also known as the Farm Babe on social media. I'm a keynote speaker. I'm a columnist with agdaily.com. So do some writing, social media influencing, and I'm also on a farm here in Iowa. So we have a couple thousand acres of corn, soybeans, oats, hay, alfalfa, and then raise beef cattle and sheep. So that's what we're doing here in
Wow.
North Iowa. Yeah, and then agriculture is really my passion. So as the farm babe, I'm always traveling and attending different conferences, meeting with different farmers. So that's really kind of my passion is learning where our food comes from and then using social media as a platform to really give the experts a bigger voice, kind of take that science that they know and make it digestible in a way that everybody can understand. So I've been doing this about 5.5 years now.
So, and I kind of want to jump right in with both feet.
Okay.
Uh, do you think the farming industry was prepared for this pandemic?
No, I definitely don't think agriculture was prepared for this. When I spoke with you guys last week, I was a little bit more fired up. But I gotta say, I'm actually pretty impressed with the way things have been handled the past week. Like a week ago, it was pretty chaotic. A lot of the meat packing places were closed down, a lot of things were shut down, farmers were dumping milk, harvests were rotting in the field. We still have some of that, but it's not nearly as bad as it was. Like I feel the industry's done a pretty good job of slowing down production. Like the science behind livestock feed efficiency is really well known. It's really well understood. So the ability to take all of that information and slow down, change the diets for the pigs, change the diets, like slow down the hatcheries for the chickens. A lot of things have been done to really minimize that waste. So it's still pretty catastrophic. I think what irks me the most is just the fact that consumers are paying so much for food in the grocery store, but the farmers aren't seeing anything. Like they talk about supply and demand, and it's like, okay, well, people still need to eat, but the bottlenecking of where that food goes, you've got like cheese plants that only make like these huge, massive 50, 60-pound bags of cheese for groceries, for restaurants, for restaurants, hotels, resorts, all that stuff. So when that's closed down, we're kind of just at this bottleneck. And so you're forced to dump milk, you're forced to waste all of this food. And some of it's been donated, but I mean, we're talking tens of millions of pounds of produce that's wasted. We're talking about hundreds of thousands, if not more, livestock that just don't have a place to go. So it's just really unfortunate all around. So like here in Iowa, some of our meat packing plants were closed down, but they can't. I mean, so now they've all been ordered to stay open, but it's just awful on all fronts. It's sad for the farmers, it's sad for the workers, it's sad for the industry. It's just like absolutely devastating all the way around.
And on your farm, how are you all responding to this pandemic, and what complications do you foresee post-pandemic?
Well, Our farm personally hasn't been affected because none of our livestock are market ready now. Like ours are still in the growing phase, so they're not ready. So directly for us, it hasn't affected us. And we've actually had a pretty good spring conditions. Like we're already done planting corn. We're working on soybeans as we speak. And so the biggest hit that it's taken for us as farmers is market price. Like I don't understand why farmers are being paid $2.90 for corn, $2.90 a bushel, and $1.08 for live beef, and then they're turning around and completely price gouging the consumer. And so we can't even turn a profit. Meanwhile, the corporations and everything are just making a ton of money, and that's what really bothers me the most. It's just how all this is happening. You think of supply and demand, and it's like, okay, there's a demand. There's going to be a meat shortage. We need meat. Okay, we got it. And then you don't pay us for it. And then you just turn around and, you know what I mean? It's so
Yeah.
messed up. And I haven't been in agriculture my whole life, right? Like I have more of a city background. Like I came from Los Angeles and Chicago, and I moved to Iowa for love to be on this farm. And it's like I see it with a fresh, young set of eyes compared to some of the guys that have just been farming their whole lives for generations. It's all they know, and they're just like, well, it's all part of it. It comes in waves. You've got your good years and your bad years. And I'm like, enough with these bad years. It's been bad for years. It's been horrible for farmers for at least 3 or 4 years now. And so the coronavirus has had a huge impact, sure, but it's like we're just due. We're really overdue for things to be better.
Right. Um,
It's frustrating. It's really frustrating to just see all the farmers' hard work just literally go down the drain and not be able to turn a profit. And so then they come out with these programs, right? Like you've got CARES or PPP or EIEIO, pretty much. And it's like, so they're thinking about coming out with programs to help farmers. So what's going to happen is the media is going to come out and they're going to go, farmers receive 50 billion
bailout.
taxpayer subsidies, and everybody's going, oh, the farmers are just getting rich off the government. And it's like, no, that's not how this works at all. Like we can't stay afloat. We're losing farms every single day. They're going out of business, and it's for things completely out of their control, and it's so messed up. So it's like like the really small farmers, like I think they're probably still going to be relatively okay because a lot of them sell direct. You can do farmers markets, but then again, you've got farmers markets that are closing down. So
Right.
where are they supposed to sell? They can deliver. You can't really ship because the shipping cost is astronomical. So you've got the small farms that can sell direct. You've got the large scale farms that kind of have that protection with the vertical integration with the big corporations where they have that guaranteed market and protection. But then you've kind of got farmers like us, which are really kind of like that mid-sized farm, where hopefully when we're ready to sell cattle in a few months, we'll have a place to go. And hopefully we'll be able to turn a profit, but I'm really not feeling optimistic. Like we're just taking hit after hit after hit after hit. It's really awful.
Yeah, it's interesting because, there were a lot of articles in the news cycle, and a lot of headlines rather, a couple of weeks ago talking about how, meat packaging plants were closing and farmers didn't have anywhere to send their cows or their pigs, and there was going to be this tremendous meat shortage, and people were being forced to depopulate their livestock. And I'm
Mhm.
curious, uh, is that still, on the horizon? Are we still looking at those potential outcomes?
It's not nearly as bad as it was like a week or two ago. It's definitely improved a lot. Like I said, the industry has really done a great job of like slowing down the rate of growth, like slowing down hatcheries, everything like that. Like I just spoke to a really large scale chicken farmer a few days ago, and their chicken houses are empty right now, right? So I think they've done a good job of kind of slowing that down. There has been some harvest destroyed, whether that's through livestock or produce or whatever, absolutely. And so that's really unfortunate. I know that they're creating like these pop-up kind of composting centers now. So like I know just in Southwest Minnesota, for example, that's not too far from me. they're taking the pigs and they're kind of doing this composting and kind of turning it into like a fertilizer type product for the soil. So it's not like they're just going in a landfill. Like they are trying to come up with ways to still somehow use it, but it's still so devastating when you look at all that hard work and everything you do. And a lot of people have no idea where their food comes from, and they don't appreciate it, and they don't know how intricate our food supply chain really is. Like how many steps and how complicated it is. There's so much consolidation too, like with cattle, there's I think 4 or 5 major meat packing plants that you can even sell to, unless you sell to the consumer through your local butcher, which is outstanding, but even they are completely booked up. So it's like, oh, well, you just call your local farmer and say, hey, I'd like to buy a quarter or a half of a steer and put that in your deep freezer forever, however long. That's fine, except the butchers now are booked until like January. So what do? You don't have a place for them to go. Butchers are, and the packing plants are reopened, but they're backed up. Butchers are booked. What else do you do? It sucks for everyone.
Yeah, I'm curious how might have, or how has rather, has COVID exacerbated problems that already existed in the supply chain and within the farming industry as a whole?
Yeah, I would say I think COVID has really kind of opened my eyes to just how consolidated things are. Nobody saw this coming, right? Like nobody wanted this to happen or saw the extremism happen here with all of this. But now you're kind of like, when you see the grocers raise the price of meat so much and you see the profitability going up in every aspect of the supply chain except the farmer, like we've already been getting screwed for years, but it's really shown a light on just how bad it is and just how bad farmers are. We're kind of shit on. We're kind of just like political pawns, and people don't understand it, and I don't understand it. And I just want to fight for farmers. I just want everybody to be paid a fair price. You got somebody that's demanding $15 an hour to flip a burger or whatnot. It's like, I mean, no offense to them. I have great appreciation for everybody in the food supply, including our chefs and cooks, but it's like, yeah, you want $15 an hour. I don't think the farmer's even getting 15 cents. We're not.
Wow.
We're getting negative. We're getting negative money. You can't turn a profit. It's really sad, and it's just depressing because you hear about farmer suicides and hear about people having to sell their farms, and people I know that it's like they're so depressed, and it's all like you farmed your whole life. It's your family legacy, it's your history. It's not just a job, it's your livelihood, it's your family, it's everything. It's who you are, it's your personal identity.
It's also an American staple, right? When you think of America, you think of farmers.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that because we don't always feel that way. It's a very underappreciated career, where people just take advantage or take it for granted, or they think food's not good enough, because it needs to have some fancy label. And it's like, no, not necessarily. You can produce really awesome food regardless of, what marketing label's slapped on the package, but sometimes it's a lonely world. And, you got farmers saying, well, if I don't farm, like, what else would I do? That's all they know. And to see these guys working 15 hours a day every day for years and not be able to stay afloat is devastating. It's wrong. It's wrong on so many levels. I just want farmers to be treated fairly. It's so sad.
I mean, what sorts of problems have you heard? You mentioned the mental health of farmers right now, and I do want to get into that a little bit, but what other issues have you read about or written about that farmers are dealing with right now amid the pandemic?
What other problems? I mean, I think we've kind of just like covered it. I mean, I think just like market prices, bottleneck of, I mean, I think the scale of problems is so big that we can't even comprehend it.
Wow.
You're talking about tens of millions of pounds of produce just rotting in a field. And then people say, well, why don't you just donate it? And it's like, well, yeah, you can only do so much. They forget about all of those aspects. Like, machines are set up to make a specific product. So you've got one machine that's making, a consumer grocery store shelf package of sour cream. And then in the restaurants, you've got little packages of butter all the way up to 50-pound bags. You can't just change those machines and these systems overnight. It's tens or hundreds of millions of dollars in infrastructure that you can't just say, oh, we're going to make something else now to go to the grocery stores. Oh, we're going to change this. And you look at something like milk that has such a short shelf life. Milk
Right.
goes from cow to store in under 48 hours usually. It's generally a very local food. And so it's just, you think about all of these things, and then you've got regulations with the truckers, right? You can only drive so much, and you can only deliver so much in a certain amount of time, and the grocery shelves can only carry so much. And then the grocery stores are saying limit one per person to make sure everybody gets enough. Like, okay, you can only have 1 gallon, or you can only have, and it's like, yeah, but we're backing up over here. Like, can you kind of release these limits? But then they want to be fair and say, well, we want to make sure that one person doesn't get 5 gallons and the next person doesn't get any. So I get it, but
We've got to find some happy medium.
yeah.
So, in talking about and thinking about, the mental health of our farmers right now and dealing with these, massive profit losses, potentially losing their farms, which in a lot of cases is not just their livelihood, but their family's legacy. Talk me through what we are seeing when we look at the mental health outcomes of farmers right now during this pandemic.
I don't even know. I think there's the famous quote that says, like, farmers are the eternal optimists. Like, the farmer has to be an optimist or they wouldn't still be farming. And it's so true. Like, optimism is such a huge part of being a farmer. Like, you always have to just cross your fingers and pray for the rain. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
There's so many things that are out of the farmer's control. I don't personally know people that are like, I don't personally know people that have been affected with like super strong like mental health tragedies. Like, I don't know anybody that's been affected by suicide or whatnot. I think generally speaking, what I see is just, just saying, well, there's nothing we can do. Just keep doing what we do. I think it's a feeling of helplessness. Like, you don't know who can help you. There's like helplines that have come out. I know, like, here in Iowa, there's like websites that have been developed and helplines you can call to help with those sort of things. It just needs to be more mainstream. Like, I only know of like 1 or 2 resources, maybe. Like, it's not a very well widespread knowledge. I posted something on my Farm Babe Facebook page, and it was a link to one of these helplines, but it's for Iowa only. And in the description, I wrote, if you know of any other resources, please drop them in the comments, because I just wanted to create a post full of like community where we knew where to go and help each other in the community. And like, nobody responded with any reasons. Like, people message me all the time and they say, where can we go? Like, how can we as consumers help? And I don't know. And that's sad. I don't know how we can help. Like, the resources aren't that well known, readily available, widespread. Like, I believe the industry's done a pretty good job of like fixing a lot of problems and doing the best they can. But what can the consumer do? I say contact your local farm bureau or contact like university extension, local farmers markets. Like, just try to find farmers, and every little bit helps. And at the same time, you're like, okay, well, you can buy a pig. What about the other 10 million?
Right.
Again, we're dealing with huge, massive scale. That's like, you can't even comprehend it.
What would it take to, help the industry through this time? Could you even put a, like a solution to it? Is it going to take like really heavy-handed government intervention, or a drastic kind of reconstruction of the supply chain in general? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I think deregulation would be nice. There are some states that you can't even sell direct. I do sell direct meat here at my local farmers market in Iowa, but to do that, it's very expensive. You've got to hold all these licenses and certifications and pay all these fees and do all this stuff. And it's got to have a stamp of approval. There's a lot of hoops you have to go through in order to legally sell meat by the pound. And for me to sell meat by the pound, I can only do it in the state of Iowa. I can't do it across state lines because I'm not federally inspected. But for me to carry that state stamp of approval, I have to have it inspected by a USDA inspected place. And they only have inspectors in like maybe one day a week. And there's like one local processing facility around here that even does it. And for me to get an appointment, I've had pretty good luck, but now it's just booked out for months.
oh, wow.
So I don't know what to do. It'd be great to have more butchers. It'd be great to have more people doing it. Farmers are 1% of the population, and we're responsible for feeding and clothing 100% of everybody. So I don't know.
If we see these negative outcomes continue for that 1% of the population, right? What can we expect as the other 99%, the people that are relying on farmers for our food?
I spoken like the true farmer, I am pretty optimistic. Not really. I want to say I'm optimistic because I've seen how much has been improved even in the last week or two. Like, I do honestly think the industry's done a pretty good job of doing the best they can to save these animals and save these harvests and implement programs, pop-up centers, creating better working conditions for people in packing plants and factories, getting more PPE in stock. I mean, doing the best they can. I will give them credit where credit is due. I think they've made huge improvements. There's even guys in my area, in my community of Iowa, that had reached out on Twitter and said, "Hey, I'm about to euthanize all my pigs. I have no place to go."
Oh, wow.
Something as powerful as Twitter and retweets and people commenting, you see that community come together where you see this thread of like 10 different people, and they're like, "Call me, I can help you." I reached out to this, I'm thinking of this one farmer in particular, his name's Lance. I said, "Lance, like, what's your email? Like, I'm going to reach out to you. We're going to do this." I had people message me, people message him. Everybody's coming together, and I think we just need a lot more of that community coming together. Farmers are really good at that. But when you see a tweet like that, I mean, before we could even help, he was already helped. So social media is a really powerful tool, I think, just to raise awareness and see that community come together, people that genuinely want to help. So if you would have asked me this question a week ago, like when I spoke to you guys last week, I was a lot more fired up. But this week, I'm just not, because I'm like, okay, like we're gonna be okay. Not really, but we are, because if that's what they can do in a week, I don't know. And the fact that they're just slowing down production so much, the fact that they're not filling houses and not filling barns like they were, like they've slowed down the birthing rates and the feed production, and they've slowed down the hatcheries and everything that they do to say, like, okay, we're going to have to cut back on all of this production. Now,
but then that puts us in a scenario where it's hard to turn a profit then, right? Because that volume was dependent upon making money and making use of the acreage and everything that you had available to you as a farmer.
Yeah.
So it's still going to require some amount of intervention.
Yeah, that's true. The market prices are the lowest we've seen in decades, but this isn't really, I mean, it's a lot worse than it was last year, but last year was bad, the year before was bad. It's been really awful for a really long time, and we're long overdue for some like market intervention, and just, can we just turn a profit already? You know what I mean? Like, it's
But
crazy.
I mean, if it's kind of inspiring to know that at least people are now being made aware of these problems that have plagued the industry, and it's there's a potential that there might be positive outcomes. There's a potential that they might be examined and fixed to help support our smaller farmers, you know?
Yeah, thank you. I do believe that. I do believe that this has raised awareness to say, hey, maybe we should deregulate. Maybe we should allow more irons in the fire. Maybe we should allow, or teach, meat science more. Like make it more a part of our education curriculum where people want to be butchers or they want to be more involved. And like, I mean, when you talk to like a nice, like high-end executive chef that can really speak to like the different cuts and the marbling and the quality, it's like, that's pretty cool,
Right.
And so can we get more people interested in that where they want to start their own farm to table, their own lockers, their own, processing plants, like all this stuff but to do that is so expensive and it's so regulated and it's so, and I get it. Like I like food regulations because food safety is awesome and it's important. And we're very fortunate in this country to have such a safe and abundant food supply. You compare what we do to other countries and it's like, like you look at something like a Mexico or India or something like China or something like that. And it's like, wow, like we have it pretty good here, but can we find a happy medium? You know what I mean? Like all that stuff. And then the other thing I was going to touch on. So we grow corn here and a lot of our corn is sold for ethanol. And the ethanol industry is interesting because a lot of people think, oh, well, why are we growing all this corn for fuel? And there's a lot of environmental benefits to this, but there's also a lot of byproducts. So when we sell corn to the ethanol plants, yes, part of it goes to ethanol for fuel, but part of that goes to livestock feed, part of it goes for distillers grains for liquor, part of it goes to like it's the carbon dioxide is trapped and used to make dry ice. There's different products for road salt for the highways and snowy conditions. There's like all these byproducts. And so it's really cool to see there's like 4,000 uses for corn. But corn is worth $2.90. Like for us to even break even, we've got to have like at least $4 to even break even. So when you think $1.10 per loss times 200 or 300 bushels an acre times 1,000 acres, what's that math? Like it's an insane loss. But now the price of gas is so low, right? So now because people aren't driving and now gas is cheap, that's really hurting agriculture too. Because now there's not as much of a demand for corn ethanol as fuel. So not only is it hurting fruits and vegetables and milk and meat, but it's also hurting like our other byproducts, like our other commodities for fuel and fiber as well.
Wow. What outcomes do you expect post-pandemic? What do you think the farming industry will look like once we have gotten through this moment?
I don't know. I don't know.
Give me your best hope and your worst fear.
I'm so like torn because there's a part of me that's like wants to think optimistically, like this will be a wake up call to have more people involved in it and understand it and appreciate it more. But then there's another part of me that's like, I don't see the market prices coming back anytime. Like I don't see farmers being profitable for a very long time. And that's terrifying. So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, what is
talk to an ag, you might want to talk to like somebody like a Jason Lusk or somebody like that, an ag economist, because he would really be, I would turn more to the experts. I only know so much, but when people ask me questions like that, I say, well, I don't know, but I know a guy who does.
What are some of the farmers in your social circles saying? When you look into your network of your colleagues, what are the conversations that are being had right now?
Pretty much what I'm saying. It's a lot of uncertainty. It's a lot of do the best you can. It's out of our control. What can we do? It's not going to do us any good to, I don't know. I don't know. There's just too many uncertainties.
And if you had to leave, the American public, our audience, consumers with any messaging or something that they need to know, or help to make them a little bit more literate when you think about the supply chain and the farming industry, the agriculture industry, what would that be?
I just want people to just really appreciate where their food comes and go out of their way to learn the real facts direct from the farmers and the experts. A lot of times media gets things wrong. A lot of times politicians get things wrong. You've got a lot of, there's just a lot of fake news. There's a lot of stuff that's not correct. So I appreciate, you going straight to the source, talking straight to farmers, because more people need to do that. We need to talk to our scientists and our farmers and agronomists and fight for farmers' rights, really. I mean, it's just sad because farmers, like, we're treated so unfairly, but like we don't have a union to protect us, like we don't have people that go to fight for us like other big companies do. Like we're just stuck. And I don't know what to do, and I don't know how to fix the situation. And I think that's my biggest takeaway is like, we just sit and wait and hope that the government rolls out some type of program to help bail out the farmers. And when people read about a bailout, know that we're not getting rich.
Right.
You can have a good year. Farmers can make a very good living if the market prices are right, but we haven't had good market prices in years. Like it's been awful. So
is some of that due to these larger, like commercial, larger conglomerate owned, like industrial farms?
Well, 98% of farms are still family farms. So I hate that term like industrial or factory farm or anything like that, because these are still run by awesome families. I cannot stand that term. But they are experiencing catastrophic losses as well. The smaller farms are probably better off right now because they have like more marketability to sell direct. They have more time to do that. When you're a medium scale farm, kind of like us, well, we're not contracted, but we can't really sell direct. Like we're just busy just doing what we do. Don't really do I do a little bit of direct marketing when I have time, but we don't have like a guaranteed place to go. Like it's just a bidding war every day. So like the river terminal can say, we'll pay you this much, and then this ethanol plant will pay you this much, and then this guy will pay you that much, but they're all battling for pennies. And it's like, okay, 290, 291, 289, or 30, and it's just a big mess of awful.
Right.
And it's usually dictated by the Chicago Board of Trade. And so I think I just wish that like, these executives and these traders and people like that, like had a better understanding of how we need to survive and just work to treat us better. If you talk to the good old boy, the old school farmers, they're just going to say, well, that's how it's always been. It's like, yeah, but is how it's always been good enough? Like I say no.
Right. And it also doesn't mean that's how it always has to be.
Yeah, we need to do better as a society.
Michelle, I think that's all I got for you. Unless there's anything that we didn't cover that we should have covered, I think that's everything I had.
Yeah, I know. Thanks. Me too. I was a lot more fired up last week. It's been great to see some improvements. So I'm so torn because there's part of me that's like doom and gloom, and the other part of me that's like optimism, and I feel like that's how a lot of farmers are right now. Like we just wait and see and hope. And like I don't know, my point in talking to you today was like, yeah, just trying to raise awareness, and like hopefully the right people see this that can make an impact. And I don't know who those people are. I speak at conferences all the time, and then it's like I talk to people in our soy growers associations, or national corn growers, or whatever, all these people that are there for us to promote and market our grains and whatnot, that they just say like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, like we don't see anything positive for a long time. And wow. So we're hearing it straight from the horse's mouth that things are not going to get better anytime soon. But it just grinds my gears when it's like, okay, so we're not making any money, but meanwhile, the steps through the supply chain, like when I hear my friends in big cities saying, I'm paying twice as much money for beef, and I'm going, like,
right.
You guys are getting screwed because they can, because supply and demand. There's going to be a meat shortage. The sky is falling. Go run and buy your beef. So they just run all this beef. Go and run out and buy all this beef. And meanwhile, we're going, what the hell? Like, you're charging all this money, but we can't even make a dime? Like, what the hell? It's
I
so
mean, in Brooklyn, it's the same thing. I'm paying, like $3, $4 for a single avocado.
really.
Yeah.
Jeez. And where are they coming?
And
Oh, here's something interesting we could talk about that I forgot to mention.
yeah.
So I do grocery pickup at Walmart, right? And so the last couple of times I picked up my groceries, like, and I got home, my produce was bad. And I was like, what the hell? I just picked it up today, So the last time I was at Walmart a few days ago, I decided to check my produce before I drove off. And sure enough, it was bad. Like, I opened my bag of lettuce and it was just disgusting. So I went in and I was like, look, like, I just bought all this produce like 10 minutes ago. It's all bad. Look, it's expired. This is gross. And they were like, oh, we're so sorry. Like, the bag of lettuce was open. The girl behind the counter at Walmart customer service, she goes, oh my God. She's like, I'm wearing a mask and it smells so bad. Oh my God.
Oh, God.
It was bad. And so they came over and they apologized. They refunded my money. They replaced everything. I went back and produced. There was a bunch of like perfectly fine produce that I could got. I don't know why they picked the crappy stuff for me, but whatever. But as I was looking on the shelf, I noticed all this produce a lot of it was kind of gross looking. It was sad. It was really bad. And so I said to them, I was like, so what's the deal? Like, we're hearing about farmers destroying their harvest. Meanwhile, you got like bad produce sitting on the shelf. The farmers are trying to move it and it's just bottlenecked on the shelf. Here's another problem. People aren't buying as much fresh produce because they're worried that people might have like touched it or coughed on it or something like that.
Oh, wow.
So now, on top of all this stuff, we have people that are turning more to junk food because they feel it would be safer, which makes perfect sense. But now it's like the cauliflower is just sitting there rotting on the shelf. It's rotting in the field. It's rotting everywhere you go because now people don't want it because they're scared to eat fresh produce. So that's another problem.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The Walmart manager that I spoke to, she was like, she said, oh yeah, like when they pick for, customers for Walmart grocery pickup or whatnot. I don't have a lot of options for grocery shopping. I got like Walmart or Piggly Wiggly because we're in such a small town. But yeah, she just said, they usually pick a lot more fresh produce for people, but since COVID happened, they're not picking nearly as much produce.
People are buying frozen vegetables.
Yeah, or just frozen or junk food or whatever,
Right.
The thing my friends are saying is they're like, oh, now with COVID, I'm just sitting at home and I'm just sitting on my couch and eating too much. And I'm like, I'm the opposite. I've been like cooking and eating healthy and doing all the right things and dieting and exercising. I'm like, I've lost 8 pounds through COVID because now I'm not traveling and like at restaurants where there's just junk food, like huge restaurant portions. So I'm eating really good, healthy. But it's sad to know that people are turning to alternatives that aren't as good for us because they're scared of fresh fruits and vegetables.
It's just one more problem on top of a mountain of problems.
Yeah. I hope you I felt like I stumbled over my words a little bit there. I hope you kind of like edit out some of those.
Oh, no, you sounded great.
Okay.
You sounded great. Michelle, that's all I've got for you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for taking the time out today.
Yeah, you too. Thanks.
And we'll definitely keep you posted on how everything's going and when this will come out. And if I have any other questions, I might shoot you an email. But otherwise, I think we're good.
Okay, awesome. Thanks. What else do you have in the pipeline for this? So are you interviewing like other farmers
we have a couple more farmers we're going to talk to. We have a couple of agricultural economists that we're going to speak to just to kind of contextualize the supply chain and the economics of it. And then hopefully, we'll end up with something really thought-provoking that can help people better understand the outlook of the farming industry and also our food supply and really orient ourselves around like how the pandemic is affecting this aspect of our lives separate from just sickness,
Good. Thank you. I really, really appreciate you raising awareness on this topic. I think that's one of my biggest gripes in agriculture is we don't get a lot of like proper media coverage. We don't have celebrities. We don't have people with huge voices talking about this. You know, the celebrities that, you know, a celebrity sends out one tweet or Instagram post and it reaches millions upon millions of people. And when they do talk about agriculture, it's usually something like, oh, look, I got my organic, non-GMO grass-fed, like this bullshit. And it's just marketing, or they're like jumping on the PETA bandwagon. And it's like, I just feel like we're constantly being run down. Like we're just worn down. And so when I looked at like your bull riding video, for example, oh, that was so well done, by the way. It was beautiful.
I appreciate that.
Captured that. And the fact that it had like 2.5 million views on YouTube, I was like, yes. Like if we can get this type of footage in the hands of millions of people that need to understand it, and hopefully in the right hands of people that can actually make a difference. Like, I just don't know how to make a difference. That's the most
Right.
part. Like, I'm like, where do we go? Where do we turn? Like, who can guarantee that we are going to get a fair market value for our hard work?
What about these, you know, the trade deals that we had seen put forward, and has anything even come from the top down, from, you know, the current administration to
Fuck no.
Congress? That
I shouldn't say that. I don't know. I don't really like our president.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of politics. I'm probably one of the least political people you'll ever meet. I just think that he's a loudmouth that's just burned too many bridges, you know. There's a lot of people that disagree with me. There's a lot of people, again, I think farmers are optimists. I think farmers see, you know, the politics, you know, they say, oh, Trump's the only one that's, you know, really grown a pair and that's really like doing something, you know, it's a short-term pain for a long-term gain. And it's like, I just go, I hope you're right. Time will tell.
Right.
I think he's burned a lot of bridges. I think you should never fuck with Mexico because 75% of our workforce comes from Mexico. I think we need to be excellent allies. I don't think we should be building a wall. I don't think we should be pissing Mexico off. Mexican immigration workers are huge, very important. I have all the respect in the world for the work that they do. This is another thing that every consumer should have to do. They should all have to work on the farm, because I tell you what, I happened for a day. I lasted about an hour. That's hard. Like,
Yeah.
picking and like this big heavy thing over you, and as you're going up and down and you're bending over and doing all this stuff. Harvesting shit is hard. Planting shit is hard. Weeding, everything that goes on. Back-breaking work. We trimmed hooves on our sheep the other day, and it's just literally like taking this 200-pound animal, rolling it over on its back, and then bending over, and using all your muscles to like clip a hoof of a sheep. It's like little things that people don't think about that are really hard work.
Right.
Money. And everybody should like have to work on a farm and get it, you know? But anyway, that I kind of got off on a tangent there. But I think in the meantime, where Trump's been playing hardball or whatever to try to fight for farmers and get fair marketplace and do all this stuff, like I hope that that's true. But personally, I think in the process, they just said, oh, fine, we won't buy from you then. We'll just buy from Brazil and Argentina. No big deal. They'll do just the same thing. I think that we got to let down our ego a little bit. Like, you can't be burning bridges like that. It'll take 15, I've heard from some people, it could take 15 or 20 years to build those relationships again with China or other countries. Like,
Right.
and now, you know, you look at somebody like Smithfield that's owned by China, and you look at like China or Japan opening their own processing plants and their own integration. Like, are they just going to take kind of what we do and like really just leave us out in the dust? And don't really feel that great about it all.
Right.
Corporate corruption, politics, greed, it's kind of just destroying agriculture, I guess.
I mean, I couldn't say it any better. That's really well put.
Yeah. All right.
Michelle, I appreciate it. We'll talk soon.
Thanks. You too.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye.